So, Friday, the first episode of Season 2 of The Mandalorian came out, and all that I've been seeing around the internet, popular consensus, is that everybody seemed to love it. But, as you can see by the title of the video, I seem to be in the minority, but I can't wait to jump in and talk about this episode, the opening episode of Season 2. I'm still very excited for it. Before I do, I please ask if you could like and subscribe. It would really help me out and really help me to get the channel off the ground. But let's go ahead and let's hop into the video. So this season is something that I've been looking forward to ever since Season 1 ended. The date that this was going to come out, we didn't know until a couple months ago. But whatever the day was going to be that Season 2 started was the day that I would be looking forward to. I had so much excitement, and I hyped it up so much for myself. But saying that, I was excited, but I did go into the episode with an open mind. I didn't want to try to expect too much and then be let down, and I don't think that I did at all. I went into it like I would with any other movie or any other episode of a TV show. I was just excited to get new Star Wars from a show that I love. But before I start talking about why I was disappointed and all that, I do want to talk about some of the good things. Of course, the best thing, and this can be a good thing for any episode, is that we are getting new content from The Mandalorian. I love his character. I loved his character in Season 1. I think that they did a really good job creating a compelling character and somebody that we genuinely care about, along with Baby Yoda or the child. So I love getting to see them on screen, especially the Mandalorian. I thought that he was incredible. You can really see some character progression. Just for example, in episode 2 of Season 1, well, really in Season 1 as a whole, he was getting beat quite a bit. And then in this episode, he takes down a whole crate dragon by himself, basically, because the Tusken Raiders and Cobb Vanth, they weren't doing much good to help him. The next good thing that I have to say is just I have to give props to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. This episode, as well as Season 1, just proves that they deserve to be in charge. They deserve to be running the show at Lucasfilm and to be in charge of all of the Star Wars projects in the future. Kind of like Kevin Feige is with the MCU. I feel like that Disney and Lucasfilm need to give Jon and Dave that sort of a role. I think they deserve it, and I think the Star Wars fans deserve it. Just somebody or two people that genuinely care about Star Wars and genuinely love the franchise and want to give good content to the fans. So they deserve a whole lot of credit. I can't thank them enough. And the final good thing that I have is Boba Fett. It was no secret that Boba Fett was probably going to be in Season 2. I didn't really think that he would come into play this early, but to be completely honest, and I know a lot of people might disagree with this, but if we get, if this is all the Boba Fett that we get for the entire Season 2 and the entire series, that's perfect for me. I think that by them doing this, bringing back his armor, showing him at the end, honestly looked like he was dressed as a Tusken Raider, but that's all I need, because I don't want it to get too cluttered, and I don't want them trying to have a Boba Fett storyline, a Mandalorian storyline, an Ahsoka and Rex storyline, Sabine. I don't want it to get cluttered. I want to focus on the Mandalorian, and this is just my opinion, but I want to focus on the Mandalorian. And to me, teasing Boba Fett like this, just showing that he's alive and that was him, That sets up the possibility for there to be a Boba Fett spin-off movie. That sets up the possibility for there to be a Boba Fett miniseries. So I think what they did with Boba Fett in this episode was perfect. That's all I need, to be honest. Like I said, I'm probably in the minority with that opinion, but I thought it was perfectly done, and I honestly hope that that's all we see of him. But I do have one more good thing, and that is the vibe of this episode. Now, I looked over at my dad during the episode, and I said, this is like Batman meets Outlaw Josie Wells. And that's what I love about the show, and that's what I love about the Mandalorian's character, is that it's this Western, it has this Western feel. And Season 1 had that, but this episode alone was the most Western of any of the episodes so far. And I loved that. I love the Western vibe in Star Wars. I think that you would never think that they would mix well together, but I think they do perfectly. I love seeing the Mandalorian walking around kind of a low town, a small town, walking into the saloon, and here comes the marshal in, just kind of like a classic Western TV show or a Western movie. I love that. I think that's what this show needs to be. So I hope they give us some more of that. So now that that's all of the good that I have, let's go ahead and jump into some of the things that I had mixed feelings about. So the first thing is the fan service, and this was an extremely heavy fan service episode. There was stuff everywhere. The episode revolved around fan service with the Crate Dragon. If you are watching this video, you probably know about the Crate Dragon, but that's the skeleton that you see in A New Hope. That's the sound that Obi-Wan imitates when he's saving Luke from the Tusken Raiders in A New Hope. The Crate Dragon has just been a kind of like a menace to Tatooine for years. And I remember when the ground started to rumble in the town, I looked over at my dad and I was like, there's only one thing at Tatooine that can do this. And turns out I was right. But some other fan service things, R5 was there when he docked. Anakin's, okay, now I will say this. Cobb Vanth speeder being made from Anakin's pod racer, I love that. Definitely because I love The Phantom Menace, and I think it gets way too much hate. It's my fourth favorite Star Wars movie, but I did love that part a lot. The Tusken Raiders were more fan service with the Jawas. There's a ton of stuff. I'd have to go back and watch the episode and make a list. Those were just things off the top of my head. I'm all for fan service. I think fan service is great. That's something that the sequels really lacked, in my opinion, but there's a point where you're on the borderline of fan service and fan fiction, I guess. You want to have fan service, but you don't want it to go too far to where it takes away from the episode. And that's why this is in my mixed category, because at times I did feel like they focused more on the fan service than they did on the episode. However, I did love seeing all of the things. I really did. I just wish that maybe instead of having all of it in one episode, maybe spacing it out. But don't get me wrong, I did like it. I just thought it was a little much. So now let's go ahead and jump into the bad. And the first thing that comes to mind when I think of what I didn't like about the episode, and this is really ironic because in Season 1, I always talked about the episodes being too short, but in this episode, I thought 52 minutes was way too long. I thought it should have been about 10 minutes shorter. There was just points in the episode where I was like borderline falling asleep. I just got really bored when there was no dialogue and there was just kind of background music. And it was showing them riding around on the speeder bikes or the banthas walking around. I just thought there could have been some things that would have worked better if they were cut out, but I thought the pacing was a little stretched, to be honest. That's not a big deal, though. It's something I can look past. But my biggest gripe with this episode is that it didn't have anything really to do with the overall story arc of the Mandalorian taking Baby Yoda and finding his origin or his species. It had none of that. It barely had Baby Yoda in it at all. This seemed like another one of the side mission episodes that we got in like episodes 5 and 6 in season 1. Also, another thing to kind of bank off of this, why go back to Tatooine? I love Tatooine, and it's what you think of when you think of Star Wars. That's the first planet that always comes to probably almost everyone's mind, but it makes the world so much smaller, and I want to see new planets. I want to see new species, and the first thing they do to open up an exciting new season is go back to Tatooine. Like, that did upset me. But I have a lot of hope going forward. I think they just they did it in this first episode to kind of get people like really excited for the rest of the season, going back to a place that everybody loves. A lot of fan service, showing Boba Fett to get people excited. So I don't think it's going to become a trend with the season. I hope it doesn't. I want to see that overall story arc. I want him to try to find Baby Yoda's species, and I want him to be going to different planets and doing stuff like that, growing the world, expanding the universe. But I know I've kind of complained and nitpicked a lot. But even though that I did nitpick a lot, I still enjoyed the episode a lot. Going forward, we'll kind of determine how I view this episode once we get to see the next few. But I think I'm going to have to give this episode an overall score of a 7.5, which is a great score for anything. So don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed it. I love seeing The Mandalorian back on screen. I can't wait for next week's episode. I'm so pumped about it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you're as excited as I am about this upcoming season. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. Like and subscribe to help me out. Help me get this channel kicked off the ground. Thank you for watching today. Keep watching movies, keep watching TV, and keep watching Star Wars.